And we're less than 12 hours away from a TTC strike deadline. Nearly 12,000 transit workers are set to walk off the job overnight if a deal is not reached.
And for the latest on this and all eyes on the story, we're joined live by Stuart Green, the TTC's Senior Communications Advisor. Thank you for joining us. A lot of people are watching this. And look, this is down to the wire. If a strike does, in fact, happen, Toronto would be paralyzed. Let me begin by getting your thoughts on the union's comments this morning. They say that there is a major problem with negotiations. Let's watch.
We're tired of talking. I guess there's progress in their minds. Maybe they know where their end point's going to be. It'd be nice if they enlightened us. We're at the table trying to get a deal, and if they know something that we don't, bring it to the table. That's the problem. Whoever is giving the direction, in whichever way, bring it to the table. Thoughts and great consideration for what might happen, well, it's happening right now. And we need the TTC to provide everything at the table now because the clock is ticking. But the clock is ticking on them, not us. We've defined what we're doing. We are walking. Tomorrow you will not have transit service. So if there's something in the background that's going to happen and people know behind the scenes what is available to us, it'd be nice if they let us know.
So Marvin, Alfred, they're pretty frustrated. Also accusing the TTC of not bargaining in good faith and making offers with strings attached. I want to give you a chance to respond to that.
So I want to start by saying that, being at the table is a very important place to be during any labor negotiation. That's where you want to be. That's where you want to have your discussion, your dialogue. You want to hash out the issues. We absolutely understand Marvin's position. It's the first time we were speaking before we just went on air. It's the first time in many years they've had the right to exercise the right to strike, and they're flexing that muscle. And we understand why. They've got some issues they want to resolve, and that's fair. But what I will say though is that we're still at the table with them. The talks are productive and progressive. I would point to things like the side deals that we reached about Wheel-Trans. We know that if, in the event that there is a job disruption, there would be Wheel-Trans service 100%, fully continued. The union agreed to that, which is great. They also last night agreed to, they wouldn't leave anyone stranded in service. So if you were on the TTC tonight into tomorrow morning and they were to go on strike at, say, midnight or just after, service would continue about 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. So this is the kind of progress that we've been able to make. Sure, there are still some issues to resolve, but we are optimistic and we think there's some goodwill. I would just also point out that we settled 3 other union contracts this year, with two of which were CUPE locals, and they are tough negotiators.
And Stuart, just for clarification, because it seems like there's a couple different messages here, TTC Chair Jamal Meyer saying that he's confident an agreement's going to be reached. The union is saying you guys are still very, very far apart. So what's actually going on? Like, what does this look like?
So, I'm not at the table. I'm here with you. Our CEO is at the table. We are very much involved in these negotiations. We're very serious about this. We do not want a labor disruption. I don't think the union wants one either. Nobody in Toronto certainly wants one because we know it would inconvenience millions of people. We're head down. We're negotiating. They have some issues that they want resolved, and we have to talk through them. But I will say that as long as you're at the table, anytime you're at the table, that's a good place to be, and it means that progress is being made. Even if the union feels frustrated that it's slow, we believe that it is being made, and we think we're going to get there. It may not be right at midnight. We may push beyond the midnight deadline, as we saw with the last CUPE negotiation, but we do think we'll get there.
You think you're going to get there?
We will.
You sound optimistic, and you say that talks are progressing well. As Bakari noted, the union is painting a really different picture, saying you're actually at an impasse. You understand why that might be confusing for riders. How do you explain that to people who just want to know if they're going to be able to get to work tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I think, in the world of communications, I think Marvin is speaking to a slightly different audience. We're speaking to our customers. He may be speaking to his members. He has a slightly different tone about him. But look, the bottom line is that everybody is committed to the deal. They're at the table, we're at the table, and that's where you need to be. That's the only way you reach a resolution. We believe that we're close, but there are some things that we will have to work out. It's going to be at least until midnight tonight before we get this resolved.
Okay.
And so you did make mention of this, but just kind of lay this out for us. Let's say the strike is not averted. What is actually going to happen with the trains that are moving, people who are maybe on a bus? Walk us through this.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So first of all, our advice to people is that if you absolutely have to travel tonight, if you have a job that requires you to be out at or around midnight, if you've got an event later on this evening and you're planning your trip home after that, maybe start looking at alternatives. I appreciate it's not a great message, but we have to be honest. There is a chance that there could be a labor disruption. If that happens, there's no TTC service. But as I mentioned earlier, we've got a side agreement with the union that we struck yesterday that ensures no one is left stranded. And you heard Marvin talk about this during his news conference as well. Everybody's committed to, in the event of a strike, people will get to where they're going, or at least get to an interchange point like a subway station or something where maybe they can get picked up. But and that's important because we don't want people being stranded out in the street. Marvin said the exact same thing. So that's important for the customers to have that confidence. But of course, we hope we don't have to get there.
We are hearing from the advocacy group TTC riders this hour reacting, saying that it's outrageous that the TTC hasn't been able to reach a deal with the union. Is it fair to put riders in the city through something like this?
Well, I mean, we have a mandate from our board, and our board is predominantly city councilors and some citizen members. They've given us a mandate. We're only able to bargain within that mandate, and that's what we're doing. So, we think that there's enough room there to find an agreement and a settlement. It wouldn't be the TTC that goes on strike. I just want to remind people, if there is a job action, it's not us that's on strike. It would be the union that makes that decision. Mm-hmm. But we think we've got the room and the ability to negotiate that settlement, and we remain optimistic. I know I keep saying it, but we are.
And I know you can't say too much about negotiations.
Sure.
We wouldn't want to jeopardize that. But is there anything you can tell us about what still remains to be a sticking point at the table?
So, I mean, I think the union has outlined and articulated what their positions are. They've talked about things like wages, benefits, and the issue of service integration, which is something that we presented at our board in the last meeting in May. They've got some issues with that. So we continue to talk through that. Marvin spoke earlier about service integration, about other agencies crossing over and doing transit work in Toronto. But he seemed to forget that the TTC does transit work in other areas as well. We contract into areas like York Region, for example. So the service integration piece seems to be a sticking point. But we think, again, there's enough room there to talk through these issues and work something out.
And also, Stuart, just quickly,
Sure.
Over the years, there's been a lot of requests for more funding for infrastructure and upgrades to the TTC. But what about the employees, that human capital investment?
So there's no question that the frontline employees at the TTC who are doing that hard work every day are an essential part of what we do. There's no question. They work long hours, often in very difficult conditions. They don't often get treated very well, and it's really unfortunate. They deserve a fair deal, and we are committed to getting that fair deal for them, and making sure that there's no labor disruption and everybody is happy. That's where we want to be.
We know it's a busy time, so we appreciate you sitting down with us. Stuart Green with the TTC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart.